Okay, so it's been quite a bit since I made a video. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. I got a brand new video for y'all today. And so we get back into this new election poll season, and we do have the new Trump tariffs that just went into effect literally yesterday on Saturday. So the landscape has changed quite a bit. I mean, these are not really reflective in these polls. This is January 31st, the day before. But nonetheless, they do tell us a story about something that has changed quite a bit in terms of the Canadian political landscape, which is that the Liberals are slowly but surely climbing up on the Conservatives' lead that they had for such a long time. Now, this is Polywave. So Polywave, I've mentioned this before on the channel, but they're a lot more lenient towards the Conservatives for the most part. I think they tend to they tend to go along the more streamlined approach of just, avoiding ecos, avoiding some of the more left-leaning polls. And that's fine, I guess, to some extent. But I do believe that 338 Canada is a lot more accurate in the sense that they include all polls, left wing, right wing, whatever. So they try to include all perspectives, which I do believe helps their credibility for sure. So if we take a look right here, they changed their model. And I want to talk about this number because this number is quite shocking. It really is. The Conservatives are at 220 seats. The Liberals have shot up to 63 seats. You never saw this before, or at least you never saw this before with Trudeau, because what happened with Trudeau was that he was at around, 120, whatever, and he just kept going down. He kept going down. He was at 63 for a very long time. Now, the only reason why he's at 63 is, not because he's the leader. It's frankly because they got rid of him, or at least they will get rid of him on March the 9th when the next leader is supposed to take office. But the point is that the Liberals have been gaining quite a bit. Look at the NDP, though. Look at the NDP, 15 seats. I mean, God, man, unbelievable. The NDP, and this is the biggest thing that we must mention, the NDP is no more willing to do a non-confidence motion if they are at 15 seats projected. They're not going to do it. They're not going to do it. And Dragmeet saying, he came out and said, hey, we're not going to vote non-confidence if Trump opposes the tariffs. We want to vote for a spending bill. Fine. Okay. But just tell the truth. You are doing it because, frankly, your party's not doing too well. I mean, 15 seats is a very significant downgrade for the NDP. But nonetheless, let's get into the meat and potatoes of this. If we take a look, popular votes, so the Conservatives have gone down to 43 points, which is now putting them at a 19-point gap. Now, I know some people are going to say, 19 points is still a huge margin. And yes, it is, in theory. However, when we actually consider all facts, it really is not, because the truth is, this is 330 Canada. They include all the polls. They also include polls that are more leaning towards the Conservatives and towards the Liberals. So it's sort of in the middle. But if you really consider all the polls, it'll just continue to get worse and worse for the Conservatives and better for the Liberals. It'll keep getting worse for the NDP as well, because Liberals will take votes from the NDP, because some of these NDP voters will be like, hey, the NDP's not doing anything for us, number one. And number two, the Liberals have a new leader. Maybe we'll vote for them. That's what they're going to think. I mean, that's what the average Canadian voter thinks. Now, if we take a look right here, the popular vote projection. Look at this. So when Trudeau resigned, the day that he resigned, it was a 45 to 20 point popular vote projection kind of thing. And that's a 25-point lead for those that can't tell right away. But take a look what it's now. It's now 43 to 24. That's not a 19-point lead. They cut the lead by 6 points, which is a pretty big deal when you consider all things, because the fact of the matter is it's only been, 4 weeks since Trudeau's resigned, a month? And the fact that they've been able to cut the lead that much when they have not gone into convention yet, when they've only had candidates announce their intention to run in the leadership race, that is a pretty significant deal. Once Carney, because obviously it's most likely going to be him, once Carney becomes leader and takes office, this 24 is going to skyrocket quite a bit. And this 43 is going to drop below 40. Now, I'm not saying this because, I genuinely hate Pierre Poilievre or, I hate the Conservatives. It has nothing to do with that, but it's just a fact. And it's also not something to do with, the Liberals being so extraordinary. It's just that they got a new leader. And that's a good move politically when you have a leader that was unpopular, or when you did have a leader, I should say, that was as unpopular as Justin Trudeau. It was the right thing to do. Now, frankly, most people would say, most political strategists would say, he should have done it sooner. But that's not the case. He did it on the 6th of January. And we are now in a situation where the Conservatives are in the process of, I'm not going to say they are blowing the lead, but they're in the process of losing a 25-point lead and now being at 19 points. Now, take a look at this. This is probably the most astonishing chart that you're going to see today. Look at this. So Trudeau resigned. It was 236 projected seats for the Conservatives compared to 35 Take that in. 35 seats the Liberals are projected to win. That is unbelievable. And yes, with that being said, they also were expected to be relegated to the third party status. The NDP was supposed to win 25, which is a pretty big deal considering where they are right now. But the bloc was at 45. So again, very shocking numbers. The week after, the Liberals increased slightly, not that much, only by 2 seats. But the Conservatives also increased. The Conservatives reached a peak of 238 seats. Okay? And on that day, this was about 2 weeks ago, on that day it was 238 to 41 Liberal seats. Now, yes, they still were third party, but they were slowly creeping up to become the official opposition. Last week, here's what happened. It became 235 to 44. So now they're back in official opposition status. And now look at this week. They went up by 19. They went up by 19 seats. I'm referring to the Liberals here. The NDP went down by 6. The bloc went up, surprisingly, which is kind of shocking. But the Conservatives went down by 15. So what's happening right now is that you have these Liberal voters, or I should say, these Conservative voters and NDP voters, who are now slowly but surely flipping their vote to the Liberals. Now take a look at this. The gap here, the 235 to 44, and if we do the math, I'm not great at math, but if we do the math, it's quite a big margin. So 235 minus 44, that'd be 191 gap. Okay, 191 difference. It's 220 to 63. So 220 minus 63, that is 157. So it's a huge, huge difference from last week. And I must say, this is kind of expected, but I also want to mention something really quickly. Mark Carney, because we are referring to Mark Carney as the favorite to win, most likely going to be Prime Minister. Mark Carney has, first of all, not won the leadership. Second of all, has not even entered a debate yet with any of the candidates. And third of all, is not even the Prime Minister. And you're telling me that he's going up right now. What is going to happen once Mark Carney does a few things? Becomes a leader, number one. Becomes a Prime Minister, number two. Makes a spending bill for Canada, which he's mostly going to be the one who does it because Parliament's going to be called back in on the 24th. I mean, what's going to happen to the polls? I'm telling you guys right now, and this is sort of my warning, I would say, to conservatives that have gotten comfortable over time. Nothing is guaranteed in politics, but nothing's guaranteed, especially when your opponent has changed their tactic. So in this case, the Liberals did change their tactic. Nothing is guaranteed now. Nothing was guaranteed, and nothing is guaranteed. Look, the Conservatives, if you look at their peak, they were at 238. That is the best case scenario that they had, according to 338 Canada. I think, Polly, we've had them at 250 something at one point. That is the best case scenario. But guess what? It could only get worse for the Conservatives, and it can only get better for the Liberals. That's simply the case that we're in right now. And the fact of the matter is, I'm talking about, when I say we, I'm talking about my audience. My audience may have certain perspectives, and I do respect those perspectives because I think everybody should have a voice. However, what I am talking about right now is the average Canadian voter. Okay, we are not average Canadian voters. Okay, we're, for the most part, very opinionated and educated people who are making informed decisions. Most Canadian voters are not that way. Most Canadian voters, I'm not saying most Canadian voters are not educated. I'm just saying most Canadian voters would fall into the average category, which is that, oh, there's a new leader. Interesting. Let's take a look at his policies. Interesting. He was a governor of 2 central banks, blah, blah, blah. And then they'll make that informed decision, or that conscious decision, I should say, to vote for that very leader. And in this case, it will most likely be Mark Carney. And so think of it this way, as almost like speculation. Like, you know how people speculate for the stock market? This is basically what it is. They're speculating. And yes, you're obviously not going to see the exact same gains that you would on the day that the stock market opens, but you're still seeing some sort of gains. And these are those gains. I mean, the Liberals have not been at 63 or anywhere near that for how long? It's been 3 months. It's been almost 3 months that they've been at 60 plus, like comfortably. So it's not looking good for them, for the Conservatives I'm referring to, but there's some other stuff that we must consider. So first of all, we have, right here, simulator. So we're going to base this on Ledger's poll because Nanos's poll, because Nanos is actually my favorite pollster. I know a lot of people don't like Nanos, but at the end of the day, they are probably the most accurate ones. They've been the most accurate for all the elections. They have the Conservatives at 42. Fair enough. So we'll put them at 42 right here. 42. And then they have the Liberals at 23. Or wait, is that 23? No, 25. So this is quite different from what you know you would typically see with me doing. I do these simulations, and I tend to look at this number, but just because I think we need to focus on accuracy, I think it'd be more valuable to focus on this number, because then again, like, I mean, 43 to 24, it's the same thing as basically, whatever I'm doing here with the 42 to 25. It's not the same thing, obviously, but it's a similar thing. And the thing is, this is also consolidating all the polls. This is all the polls. Many of these are right wing, many of these are left wing. So I don't want to mix it up. I just want to focus on one poll specifically. This is the Nanos poll. Nanos has been the most accurate. Let's take a look at what the C projection would be. Look at that. So it'd be 201 seats for the Conservatives, still above 200, 79 for the Liberals, which is quite a bit considering what they've gone through in the last, month or so. And then 42 for the Bloc, so they wouldn't be official opposition. Liberals still would be. And then 19 for the NDP. Now, I know this is where it gets kind of funky. I mean, the Ecos people, they spoke about potentially, the Liberals being at 32 and the Conservatives being at 34. This is, look, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I mean, it's kind of funky that they would put that number up. And Real Opinion Pat did a good job of mapping this out. So take a look at this. So he also made this clarification. Please don't take this poll seriously. I think, look, with Ecos, I don't really know much about them. I'm sure you guys probably know a bit more. I think it's a bit odd that they're 14 points different from other pollsters, but just take a look at what they have to say. They have 150 seats for the Liberals, 123 for the Conservatives, 37 for the Bloc. I'm having a hard time believing that it would be this much of a change, especially when the Liberals don't have a leader yet, and when they haven't even entered their official leadership process. I'm having a hard time figuring out how exactly they would be at 150 seats. Also, keep in mind, Trudeau's been in power for 10 years. Yes, I still do stand by the belief that Trudeau was the problem. It wasn't simply the Liberal Party. It was Trudeau himself. However, you're really telling me that overnight, basically, or I should say in about a month, they essentially flipped it like this without even having someone at the helm? I'm having a hard time believing it. I would say, for anybody who's looking at polls, just don't take Ecos alone as a serious, credible poll, because it's really not. And then again, if we take oh, no, sorry, this is a different one. This is a different poll I want to show you guys. So we have a great website here, Canadian Projections, cdnprojections.ca. They have their election projection and some history here as well, just to back it up, because they have been going down for a pretty long time. They go back pretty well, pretty long back. If you take a look right here, they now have the Conservatives at 215. They have the Liberals at 55. They have the Bloc at 43. And then they have the NDP at 26. So interesting. Very, very interesting. Or sorry, it may actually be the Bloc at 55. Yeah, no, sorry, that's the Liberals because they're higher. But yeah, nonetheless, it's still very interesting to see this dynamic, in the sense that, look at this. This is 243 that they had him at one point. This is about, a month, or no, this is September, so a few months ago. So again, a lot of changes going on, but I want to show one more thing. I know a lot of people don't like Jagmeet Singh. I mean, I think Jagmeet Singh is going to have a tough time keeping his position as a leader of the NDP after this, if he does in fact lose this election, because he is still projected to lose his own seat, which is kind of shocking, because if you take a look right here, Papineau, Justin Trudeau's actually back as the projected winner of this riding, which he was actually losing previously, or was projected to lose. University of Rosedale, that is Chrystia Freeland's. She is now officially in the lead in her own riding. And then who else there? There's Jolie, was also losing her riding, back in the lead. So we've seen quite some changes. But Jagmeet Singh, Burnaby Central, man, not looking too good. I mean, he's still 5 points. It's like, again, I find it very interesting how he is losing his own riding by 5 points. It's kind of shocking. It's weird. It's odd, but I think it does tell you quite a bit about how weak of a leader, for the party Jagmeet Singh is, at least for the NDP. I think someone like Charlie Angus, we can objectively agree that he would be a much stronger candidate in a leadership, or in an election season, than Jagmeet Singh would be, because Charlie Angus is a bit more nuanced. He's a bit more willing to compromise. Jagmeet Singh is pretty strong in his views. I'll just put it that way. But anyways, we want to move on to something else, which is Ontario elections. So Doug Ford called his election on Wednesday of last week. So I know, shocker, for those that weren't that weren't paying attention to the news, that's what happened. But then again, everybody pretty much knows about that. If you take a look right here, again, I mean, this is sort of typical, and we were kind of expecting this to happen either way. Doug Ford is expected to win, or I should say his party is expected to win 98 seats, which is unbelievable. I mean, cracking 100 in Ontario is more than a supermajority. Kind of a it's kind of a dynasty in that respect. And by the way, if he does win this majority, which he is most likely going to, that'll be his third majority, which is in many cases a dynasty, a political dynasty. So, I mean, who would have thought Doug Ford would have been the guy to win 3 majorities in Ontario? I mean, that's kind of shocking when you really think about it. When you really think about what kind of past the Ford family has had, which, you know, Rob Ford obviously had an interesting political career. Not going to get into that too much, but yeah, it's interesting to see that Doug Ford is the guy that wins the three majorities in Ontario. But anyways, NDP is at 15. They've gone up. By the way, the PCs have gone down. 98. I know, big deal. They really went down by a lot. Not really. And then the Liberals are at 8. So again, not doing too well. The Ontario Liberals are just not doing well, man. They've not been doing well at all. If you take a look right here, though, at the projected vote, again, it's odd. It's really odd. So they go up in the projected vote, yet they go down in the seat projections. It's odd. But nonetheless, this is updated. This is February 2nd, so this is today. If we take a look right here, again, seat projection, they do go down by 1 seat. Fine, big deal. But the highest they were actually at was 99. So there were some polls that were showing them above 100, but nonetheless, they still are at 98, 99, floating around that number. They did actually drop all the way to 88 on the day that the campaign season began, but still, they were able to recover some of that. And I do believe that since the tariffs went into effect, he's going to get boosted even more. He's probably going to be at 105 or so. For those in Ontario, they know very well that Doug Ford is most likely going to win over 100 seats, and it won't even be close. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. I know this is a pretty long video. It's been a while since I made one of these videos, or I should say it's been a while since I made any video at all. But I've been away for a bit, so I just knew I had to catch up on some of these things. The tariffs obviously happen. I can try to make another video, or just not another, but a video about the tariffs and the effects it'll have, not only on Canada, but also the US. But then again, there's been a lot of videos on that, but I think we know what's going to happen. The fact of the matter is the tariffs are stupid. They're unnecessary, and they're kind of dangerous for not only Canada, not only the US, but also for global trade in general, because it does set a precedent that, hey, you could have a free trade agreement, but frankly, we don't really care because we want to do X, Y, and Z. So I think it sets up a dangerous precedent. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Again, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.